We are in space. If one steals an animal and it ages, or slaves and they age, as he pays as the time of the robbery. Robbery. Reb Meir says, in the case of slaves, he may say to him, "Here is your property before you." If he steals a coin and he cracks and it cracks and it proves and it rots, or wine and it sours, he pays at the time of the robbery. If he steals a coin and it becomes disqualified truma, it becomes ritually contaminated, chametz, and in his possession on Pesach, or an animal and is used for transgression, or becomes disqualified for the altar, or is condemned to be stoned, he may say to him, "Here is your property before you." If one gives craftsmen something and to improve, and they spoil it, they are obligated to pay. If one gives a carpenter a chest, a box, or a closet to repair, and he spoils it, he is obliged to pay. If a builder undertakes to demolish a wall and he breaks the stones and causes damage, he is obliged to pay. If he was demolishing from one side and he fell on the other side, he is exempt because of the blow. He is liable. If one gives a wool to a dryer and the cauldron burns it, he pays in the value of the wool. If he dyes it poorly, then the improvement exceeds the expense. He pays in the expense. If he, however, the expense exceeds the improvement, he pays it for the improvement. If he gave it to him to dye red for him and he dyes it black, or black and he dyes it red, Red Meir says he must pay him the value of his wool. Huda says if the improvement exceeds the expense, he pays him the expense. If, however, the expense exceeds the improvement, he pays him for the improvement. Okay.
Okay. Hagozel es chavero shave pruta v'nishpalo. Okay, so here is a situation where a person stole something from his friend, at least the shava pruta, and and swore to him. Now, this is not just about literally stealing from him. It could be that his friend gave him something to look after, and he comes and asks for it and says, "No, I gave it back to you already." So this is what's called a shvuas pikadon. He takes an oath on the fact that no, I don't have anything of yours by me. Okay, but he's lying. And now he does teshuvah, and he wants to pay back. So now his teshuvah has got to be he's got to pay back what he owes plus an extra fifth, plus he has to bring a korban asham for the fact that he violated his oath. Okay, and what's more is that in order to make sure that he does right, now normally a thief doesn't have to go chasing all around the world, but in this case, yolichenu acharav afilu lamadai. He has to go pursuing after the person he owes, even if the guy is in Media, or as we might put it, in Fiji in our current terms, right? He's that far away. You got to make sure that he gets it back. Okay. Lo yiten lo libno velo lishlucho. He mustn't give it to his son or to his emissary. He's not exempt until he makes sure that it gets into the hands of the person that it needs to be in. Aval no sein l'shaliach based in. However, if he finds that he genuinely just cannot get to the place that he needs to get to, he can go to his local based in and say, "Look, I confessed. I owe this guy money, and I have to get it to him. And can Bastin please organize this for me?" So he can hand over the job to Bastin, because Bastin is reliable to make sure that it'll get to the person. The mace, and what happens if the recipient has died? Yachzir la yorshav. Then he has to give it to the yorshim. Now, this is an interesting thing that I was reflecting on yesterday. Is that normally, and we've seen this in recent Mishnayos, hamodi b'knas pater. Right? So if somebody admits to a fine, then he's pater on it. So, for example, kafel is a knas. If you have to pay double for what you stole. Okay, but if he confesses, he only pays what he stole. He doesn't have to pay the knas. Okay, whereas over here, the interesting part of this is that the chomish that he has to pay on top of the keren is it's not commensurate with what he with what he stole. It's something extra. So it would normally have been classified as a knas, but here the halacha is punkt vaket. It's only if he confesses that he has to pay. If he has Adim that come and say, "No, you actually do have to pay," um, then he just pays what he owes. Right? He has to return the object that he owes, or whatever it is, but he doesn't have to add a chomesh. So I was looking at the commentaries, and it seems to me that the logical explanation for this is that in this particular case, The reason is because he took a shvua. And because of the fake shavua that he took, a false shavua, he needs a kapara, and that kapara is paying the extra fifth and bringing a korban asham. Now, if he's still denying it, then if he's still in denial, then how's he gonna get a kapara? The kapara is specifically for somebody who does the teshuva, who confesses and wants to get a kapara, but which isn't the case. So it's in all other cases of a knas. And so, I mean, and apparently there's debate in the Gemara as to whether this is classified as a knas or not. But if it is classified as the knas, it's the only knas where the hodan, the fact that you've admitted it, is actually what makes you chayav. And if you didn't admit it, you wouldn't be chayav. So that's just an interesting little point over here. All right. Mishnah Vav, Nasan lo a Keren. So he paid back the principal. V'lo nasan lo a chomesh, but he hasn't paid the chomesh. Machal lo ala Keren, or the other guy, the recipient said, "Nah, machal on the Keren, but just please, just pay me the chomesh and that'll be fine." Okay. Machal lo al zeh, or he was machal on both, except Pachos Mishava Prota Bekeren. He says, I'm mochel on everything but 5 cents worth of what you owed me on the principal. Eino tzarich le'chacharav. So then he doesn't have to go chasing after him to Fiji. Okay, Nasan lo is a chomesh. If he paid the chomesh, velo nasan is a keren, but he didn't give him the keren. Or machal lo ala chomesh. He was machal the chomesh, velo machal lo ala keren. Machal lo al ze chut mishave prota bekeren. If he's machal on everything except for one shave prota in the keren, tzarich lelech acharav, then he still has to go chasing after him to Fiji. Okay, Zion. Nasan lo is a keren. He paid the principal. V'nishba lo ala chomesh, and he took an oath on the chomesh that he doesn't have to pay it. So now we're having a second round of him swearing falsely. Harezim shalem chomesh ala chomesh. Now he has to pay a chomesh on top of that chomesh. So let's say he started off by owing 80 zuz. Okay, and he swore falsely that he didn't have it. So now he's got to add on 20 zuz to what he owes. But so he paid him the 80 zuz, and he said, but the 20 zuz, no, I've already paid you that. And the guy says, what are you talking about? Swear me an oath. He says, I swear. So now that 20 now becomes the principal, and now if he wants to confess, he has to add another 5 onto that. Okay, so that's how it goes in terms of the maths. Okay, Mishalem Chomesh ala Chomesh, Ad sheyitmayet keren pachos mishava prota, and you can do this recursively until whatever's left over is less than a Shabbat Prota. Same thing goes for a deposit. It doesn't matter. We're not talking just about we're not talking just about whether if he stole. It's also if he left the thing as a deposit by the person. Shenemar bepikadon or besumes yad or begazel or ashak es amiso or matzah aveda bekicheshba. Anything, whether it's a metzia, if it's a pikadon, if he borrowed money, if he stole money, it all is he. The bottom line is he has something of his friends in his possession and he's denying it. Okay, v'nishba al sheker, and now he swore about it. Harezim mishalem keren v'chomesh v'asham. If once he confesses, he has to pay the principal plus a fifth plus the korban asham. Hechan piktoni. The guy comes to, so he has a case of how this plays out. The original guy comes and says, "Where's the money I left with you?" Amar lo avad. Oh, sorry, the pikadon. Let's say more money can get complicated. Let's just say I left my phone with you, and he says, "Oh no, my phone, it got lost." Now this is talking about a shomer chinam. Because the shomer chinam is not chayav for a veda or geneva. He's only chayav for negligence, where he didn't guard it properly. No, I'm sorry, it was lost. And maybe a phone is not a good idea because maybe it's an animal rather that can actually wander off by itself. And he did everything he was supposed to in terms of guarding it, but I'm sorry, it's gone. Mashbiach ani, and he says, "I'll take an oath that this is what happened." But Amar Amen. So he says, okay, yeah. So even saying Amen is tantamount to taking an oath that what he's saying is true. The Eidim also she'achalo, and now the Eidim come and say, no, we saw him with this animal. he shechted it and ate it. Now, for that he has to pay the keren. He doesn't have to pay he doesn't have to pay the chomesh or bring in asham because he denied it. Hoda me'atzmo, however, if he confessed himself and said, "I'm sorry, I feel really bad about it, but yeah, I actually did. I ate the animal." Meshalem keren v'chomesh v'asham, and there is where he has to pay the extra fifth plus bring a korban asham. Okay, let's go. Let's do as much chazar as we can before I gotta go.
Hey, hey. Is that right? No. Yeah, hey, hey.
No, we're on Vav Aleph, I think. Let me just check that. Sure. I think it is Vav Aleph. Sorry, just loading.
Wow.
Well, let's go with
Okay.
Bava Aleph and I'll tell you if I was wrong.
Okay, here we go. Well, Aleph. Okay. If one brings a sheep into a fold and locks the door before it properly, but he gets out and damages, he's exempt. If he does not lock the door before it properly and he gets out, he damages, he's liable. If he breaks at night or robbers break it, and he goes out and damages, he's exempt. Should robbers take it out, the robbers are liable. If the leaves in the sun or gives it over to a left mute, mentally deranged person or a minor, and he goes out and damages, he is liable. If he gives it over to a shepherd, the shepherd assumes responsibility instead. And if it falls into a garden and derives benefit, the owner pays for what is benefit. Should it go down to the usual manner and damage, he pays for what is damaged. How does he pay for what is damaged? He appraises how much a saw's space in the field was worth and how much it is worth. Websterman says if he eats ripe fruit and he pays for ripe fruit, if a saw, he pays a saw. If it's two saws, he two saws. If one makes stacks with grain in another's field without permission and the animal belongs to the owner of the field ate them, he's exempt. If he's injured by them, the owner of the stack is liable. Should he make the stacks with permission, the owner of the field is liable. Okay, get in.
Hmm. Yeah.
Get in. Okay, we have Dalit Hay. If two men sent out two identical kittens and they became mixed up, he gives both of them to this one and both of them to this one. Now, therefore, if he's lost one of them, the second is void. If five wrote as a group in a get, so and so is divorcing so and so, and so and so is divorcing so and so, the witnesses are below. They're all valid and shall be given to each one. If the text was written for each one and the witnesses are below, that which with the witnesses are read are valid. If in the case of two kittens whose texts are alongside each other and two Hebrew witnesses extend from beneath this one to that one, the two Greek witnesses extend from beneath this one to beneath that one. That which the first witnesses are valid, and one Hebrew witness and one Greek witness, one Hebrew witness, and one Greek witness extends from beneath this one to beneath this one, and they are both void. If one left over part of the get and wrote it on the second column, and the witnesses are at the bottom, it is valid. The witnesses line at the top of the page, on the side, or on the back of the open get, it is void. If this one is attached to the top of this one and the witnesses are between, they are both void. If the end of this one was attached to the end of this one and the witnesses are in between, that which the witnesses are read is valid. Okay. And we're going to go on to the door of Gimel test. One who makes a net prohibiting the yacht, Eulodim is permitted to benefit from these to be born.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Gimel,
Ches, yeah?
Gimel,
Go back one. Yeah, go back one.
okay, Gimel, all right. If one who makes a net of prohibiting dark-headed people is forbidden to benefit from bald-headed people and hoary-headed people, but he's permitted to benefit from women and children, since only adult men are called dark-headed. One who makes a net of prohibiting the Yodim is permitted to benefit from those who be born. The Ladim is forbidden to benefit from those already born. Reb Meir permits even from the already born. The sages, however, say this person is referred to only that which bears offspring. One who makes a net of prohibiting those who rest on Shabbos is forbidden to benefit from Jews and forbidden to benefit from Kutins. If those who eat garlic, he is forbidden to benefit from Jews and forbidden to benefit from Kutins. The pilgrims to Jerusalem is forbidden to benefit from Jews, but is permitted to benefit from Kutins. Okay. Next. That was it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Erevin Yudva.
Okay. A person might stand in a private domain and drink in a public domain, or in a public domain and drink in a private domain, unless he brings his head and most of his body into the domain in which he drinks. Similarly, regarding a wine pit, a person may catch water from a gutter lower than 10 fists, but from a pipe he may drink in any manner. If a cistern is in the public domain and its embankment is 10 feet high, the window above it may be used to draw it on Sabbath. on the Sabbath. If a rubber sheep is in the public domain that is 10 feet high, the window above it may be used to pour water onto it Sabbath. The tree which droops over the ground, or the stem branches are not 3 feet higher than the ground, we may carry it beneath it. If its roots are higher than 3 feet above the ground, one may not sit on them. The door of a backyard, though thorns which are in a breach, and mats which are not close, with them unless they are above the ground. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Okay.
And we have either.
Dalet Vav.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Daled
sir.
Vav.
Yeah.
Concerning a woman who bleeds in labor within 80 days of a female birth, any blood that she discharges is tahar until the child is born. The Reb Eliezer declares a tameh. Instead, the Reb Eliezer, even in a case where the Torah was stringent regarding blood discharge during a period of relief, it was lenient regarding the blood discharge in labor. Then, in a case where the Torah was lenient regarding blood discharge during the period of relief, it is not logical we must be lenient regarding the blood discharge in labor. Reb Eliezer replied, it is sufficient for the derived law to be used to be the same as the source law. From what tumor did the Torah spare her? From the tumor of Ziva, and but it's tummy as a nida. Throughout all 11 days of potential Ziva, a woman is presumed to be tahor. If she sat and did not examine herself, whether it was inadvertently by mishap or deliberately that she failed to examine herself, she is tahor. If the time for her fixed period arrived and she did not examine herself, she is tameh. Meir said if she was in a hiding place and the time for her fixed period arrived and she did not examine herself, she is tahor because Terah suspends the discharge of bloods. However, during the days of the Zava, and one who was observing a day free of discharge against the day on which these discharge bloods, they are proved to be tameh. And concerning a child who emerges from its mother through the abdominal wall, the mother does not observe on its count the days of Tuma and the days of Tahara, and which is not liable on account of to an offering. But Jimmy says this child is like a naturally born child. Or wouldn't become contaminated once the contaminating flow is in the outer room, for it is stated that it discharges from a flesh-being blood is dissolved, and one who emitted semen do not become contaminated until the moon exits it outside of their bodies.
Okay. I'm going to have to run and get my ride now. Have a
Okay,
good day.
sorry. I'm
Last
going
one.
to ask you.
Okay, bye.